So this is day 5. This is the last day for the packet. Congratulations, we made it. So this is assessment practice. This is an example of an article that we would find on the GSA. So we're just going to go ahead and read through it together. We will work on finding text evidence to answer questions. But I'm going to go ahead and begin by reading the passage. So, The President Pitches, A Baseball Tradition Begins by Catherine L. House, highlights. So this tells me that this has to be an excerpt from a magazine or another publication. So, April 14th, 1910 was more than just another spring day in Washington, D.C. It was opening day of the baseball season. That afternoon, the hometown Nationals would play the Lid Lifter, their first game of the year. Plenty of people left work early for the 3:45 p.m. matchup at the ballpark. By game time, the temperature reached nearly 70 degrees. More than 13,000 fans, most of them men, jammed into wooden seats and bleachers. Few seemed to mind that the Nationals, often called the Nats, had finished last in the American League 1 year earlier. Instead, fans were looking forward to the promise of a new season. Even President William Howard Taft decided to show his support. Like other fans, the 27th president was dressed in a suit and tie and wore a bowler hat. Taft, his wife Helen, and their friends sat in chairs in a box in the first row. Patriotic bunting adorned the railing in front of them. Taft could have sat in a box high up in the stadium reserved for presidents, but he preferred to watch the action with the rest of the crowd. One newspaper predicted that the game would be a pitcher's battle. After all, the Nationals' right-handed pitcher, Walter Johnson, boasted one of the fastest pitches in baseball. For the Philadelphia Athletics, dependable lefty Eddie Plank would step on the mound, but it was another pitcher who would make headlines that day. President Taft plays ball. Before the game started, the umpire walked over to the president in his first row box and handed him a new baseball. The president took off his dress gloves while Mrs. Taft held the ball. Taft, a 6-foot right-hander, then stood up. With his hat firmly in place, he prepared to throw the ball. Washington catcher Gabby Street waited for the pitch at home plate. But Taft surprised everyone by hurling the ball all the way to the pitcher's mound where Walter Johnson caught it. Johnson, one of the best pitchers of his day, recalled that Taft's aim was very good. A tradition begins. Taft's small act turned into a big deal. Fans expected a fire chief, mayor, or another politician to throw out the first ball on opening day. Never had anyone as important as the U.S. president handled the honors. Sports writers and fans saw Taft's pitch as more than a simple throw. The Washington Post reported, "Of course it goes without saying that President Taft had done his part so nobly. The Nationals simply could not lose, and they didn't." Johnson pitched a one-hitter and the Nationals shut out the Athletics 3-0. Johnson and Taft were the stars of the day. The Sporting News declared Taft's pitch a momentous event in history of the national game. It boasted that Taft, by throwing out the first pitch, had endorsed the game as one worthy of the patronage of every class of people in this broad land. Even Walter Johnson thought the president had done something special. The Nationals pitcher asked a friend to deliver the ball he caught to the White House with a note asking the president to sign it. Taft struggled to write on the small round object, but he managed to scribble more than his name. For Walter Johnson, with the hope that he may continue to be as formidable as in yesterday's game. A messenger delivered the prized souvenir to the ballpark, where Johnson proudly showed it off to his teammates. Walter Johnson didn't know how special the pitch would turn out to be. In fact, Taft's throw that day started a famous tradition. Since 1910, every president except Jimmy Carter has tossed out the first ball at least once to celebrate opening day. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt did it 8 times. He had more opportunities because he held the office longer than anyone else. The custom benefited presidents in the game of baseball. Pictures of the commander-in-chief at the ballpark helped him score some points with the public, and the custom helped to turn baseball into the popular sport of the country, its national pastime. We're going to go ahead and answer the questions. So, question 18. According to the passage, how did President Taft surprise people? So, I'm going to go back and read. So, I can go by here. Now, when I'm looking for the answer here, I am looking for how did he surprise people? So, in paragraph 6, I can skip down, but Taft surprised everyone by hurling the ball all the way to the pitcher mound where Walter Johnson caught it. So, I'm going to go back here to number 18. So, the answer to this question, it was written right into the passage, is C. He threw the ball all the way out to Walter Johnson. All right, question 19. The author calls the ball Taft signed a prized souvenir because the ball was A, an important reminder of a big event, B, worth a lot of money even before it was signed, C, given to the pitcher of the winning team, or D, pitched by other presidents as well. So I would say a prized souvenir. Whenever you take a souvenir home, it's normally to have a reminder of something that you did. So the answer to this question, I can actually use what I know without referencing the passage, but a prized souvenir is something that's going to be an important reminder of a big event. So the answer for 19 is A. So question 20. Now, it's really important to read the questions here. You want to select the 2 sentences that best explain how the author's description of other presidents contributes to the reader's understanding of the passage. So, best explain how the author's description of other presidents. So, how does this contribute to our understanding of the passage? So, the question A, it demonstrates how strong of an impact Taft's first pitch had. B, it proves that most presidents are also first-rate baseball players. C, it supports the idea that Taft was better than average at pitching baseballs. D, it explains why Franklin Delano Roosevelt held the office of president the longest. E, it suggests how important the tradition became to the American people over time. Finally, we have F. It shows how the tradition of presidents throwing pitches has greatly changed over the years. So we're looking for 2 sentences that best explain how the author's description of other presidents contributes to our understanding. So A, it demonstrates how strong of an impact Taft's first pitch had. I actually think A would be an answer here because without his first pitch, not every single president since, or with the exception of Jimmy Carter, would have thrown a pitch. So A is definitely an answer, but I'm going to go ahead and check the other options to see if they would work. There is no evidence in the passage to suggest that most presidents are also first-rate baseball players. So I'm just going to go ahead and not think this is one of the answers. C, it supports the idea that Taft was better than average at pitching baseballs. That wasn't suggested. Yeah, he threw the ball, but that was actually a surprise. It wasn't something that was well known. And it's not something that is totally focused on in this passage. We're talking about how his first pitch of the baseball game contributed to a tradition. So I'm not going to think C is an answer either. Option D. It explains why Franklin Delano Roosevelt held the office of president the longest. It didn't go into detail, it just briefly stated that he has held the office. So because he held the office longer than any other president, he had an opportunity to pitch 8 times or throw the ball to the pitcher 8 times. So the next option is E. It suggests how important the tradition became to American people over time. I'm going to say this is an answer choice, but I'm going to definitely check the last one just to make sure that I have my 2 best options. So F, it shows how the tradition of presidents throwing pitches has greatly changed over the years. So I'm going to stick with E here because it doesn't go into full detail about anything changing. It's just talking about the general tradition of presidents throwing the first pitch. So I'm going to say my 2 answers, the 2 best options here are going to be A and E. So the next 2 questions is actually one question that has 2 parts. So we're going to go ahead and look at part A first. So how did pitching the first ball help President Taft? A, it helped him achieve one of his most important goals. B, it resulted in him meeting his favorite ball player. C, it helped him gain more support from the country. Or D, it helped him stay in office longer than anyone else. I can go ahead and eliminate option D because we know that Taft wasn't the longest reigning president. That was FDR. So D is not the right answer. So that leaves me with A, B, and C. So I don't remember in the passage anything about pitching the ball being one of his most important goals or who his favorite ball player was. So because I do not have the evidence to support this, I'm going to stick with C, that it helped him gain more support from the country. And there is actually evidence from the passage to support that answer. So part B, which sentence from the passage best supports the answer to part A? A, Johnson and Taft were the stars of the day. B, even Walter Johnson thought the president had done something special. C, in fact, Taft's throw that day started a famous tradition. Or D, pictures of the commander-in-chief at the ballpark helped him score points with the public. So again, having those pictures and having that publicity helped him score points with the public. So the answer here is D. So this leads us to the last page in the packet. So below are 3 ideas found in the article. So part A, you want to put a check mark by the 2 statements that best represent the main ideas of the article. To answer this part in the question, all you have to do is choose the 2 best main ideas, the 2 ideas that were most relevant to what we just read. So the Nationals unexpectedly beat the Athletics at the 1910 opening day game in Washington, D.C. An important baseball tradition began with President Taft's first opening day throw. And President Taft's throw meant a lot to the Nationals pitcher Walter Johnson. So I know that there's evidence to support that the pitcher wanted this memorialized because he had the ball signed by President Taft himself. So I'm going to check the last main idea because I think that is something that was a central focus in this passage. So, an important baseball tradition began with President Taft's first opening day throw, or the Nationals unexpectedly beat the Athletics at the 1910 opening day game in Washington, D.C. Maybe it's because I'm not a sports person, but I don't know who the Athletics are. So I don't think that was really that important to what this passage was because I still couldn't tell you which team was which. So I'm going to say that the second main idea that is centrally focused upon in this passage is an important baseball tradition began with President Taft's first opening day throw. So now that I have these main ideas, copy a sentence from the article that provides the supporting evidence for that idea. So this is something you're going to do on your own. You need to go back, and I've provided examples of how to do this, but you want to go back into the passage and find that evidence that's supporting that these main ideas that you selected are the main ideas that are the best represented main ideas of this article. So if you're doing a paper packet, you are just going to write this in. If you're doing the Edmodo assignment, this is going to be a short answer, and I'm going to attach a copy of the passage, and it's just going to be the first 2 papers in the packet that have the actual reading of the article that you're going to have to base your answers on. So again, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope this helps you with this assignment. This was something that I threw in there before I knew what was going to happen, so I'm hoping that this will help you. Friendly reminder, this is the last paper copy of the packet. To my knowledge, at this moment right now, I do not believe that there will be another paper packet that's going to be pushed out for next week. So we are going to just start a book study. So you're going to find the book on here, and I posted a poll in each class. So if you want to vote on what book you want to read, you can go ahead and do that. I only have so many books at my house, so you just have to vote which option that you want. So thanks again.